I see my first murder when I was about 6.5 years old.
Wow.
Like I said, it was the norm. But what's so interesting as well is like always deep down inside my heart, I always felt like it was wrong the way we were living. My mother did more for me in death than she was ever able to do for me in life.
Wow.
Because I didn't know it at the time, Seano, but her death was gonna be the beginning of my new life.
We don't do gotcha. Fuck
No.
that, man. Clowns do gotcha.
That's right.
We say welcome back.
That's right.
Because we know the humility it took for you to get your ass back here.
Absolutely.
And we're going to love up on you.
And it's a miracle that you made it back.
Straight up, brother.
Because a lot of people don't.
Welcome back to the Seano Show. I'm your host, Seano McFarland. Today, we have a guest whose journey and work is nothing short of miraculous. And I love this brother from day one, just straight up, right? Let me just tell you about this cat. He's a former gang member who turned his life around, is now the director, capital D, case management at Homeboy Industries, the largest gang rehabilitation and reentry program in the world. Boom. He's been helping formerly incarcerated individuals and those impacted by gang violence rebuild their lives and create new paths forward. It's my privilege to welcome my good buddy, Brother Jose. Welcome, man. Welcome.
Thank you, Seano.
And we like to say, right, blessed?
Yeah, blessed.
Blessed,
truly,
right?
Truly blessed.
But I want to let everybody know how committed we are to our spirituality and carry the message. Right now, literally, as we're speaking, first inning of the Dodgers World Series Game
World
1.
Series,
We're not there.
We're not there.
We're here. We're carrying the
Nor
message.
are we watching it live.
We're carrying the message.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, thanks for making it down.
Thank you
I
for
just got to
having
tell you how
me.
much I love you, man.
Oh, I love you too.
I'm just going to start there.
And it's an honor, homie. It
Yeah.
really is an honor to be here in your presence. And it's an honor to any chance we get to do something together, Seano.
Yeah, I know. It's always been that way, right?
It's always been that way, and it's
Yeah.
always been special. And so,
Yeah, I'm glad God brought us together.
That's right.
You've been a great friend, a great confidant, a great teacher,
Thank you.
and just a kind human being, and somebody I know I can always count on. I always see you, and I see God, I see truth,
Oh, thank you.
and I just get happy for you, man, because you're doing great things.
That's a
out
big
there.
boomerang, Seano.
Let's just tell her a little bit about your story. Let's just start at your history, where you grew up. Let's just start there. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it wasn't always the case. I mean, growing up, that term even blessed, it's so interesting, like the terms that I use today and, where my life is at, like sometimes it feels like I'm living in a dream. It really does. So I come from third generation gang culture, Los Angeles gang culture. My family, they're all from here, born and raised in Los Angeles County. And growing up, my mother was a gang member. All my uncles were gang members. Grandparents, they're all from the same neighborhood. And so it was kind of just the norm, to grow up like that. Alcoholism, substance abuse issues in the house, domestic violence. I see my first murder when I was about 6.5 years old.
Wow.
And like I said, it was the norm. But what's so interesting as well is like always deep down inside my heart, I always felt like it was wrong the way we were living. But I also just kind of accepted it, embraced it. Growing up, I didn't want to be a gang member. That was the furthest thing from my mind. I had an older cousin that was a couple years older than me, and he was like a brother to me, like an older brother. And him and I actually I was probably 9 years old. It was probably 10 or 11. He calls me to my grandmother's backyard, and we made a pact with each other, little boys. And we said, he said to me, he says, "Hey, primo," which is cousin in Spanish, he says, "Promise me that no matter what happens, you and me are not going to get jumped into the water." Wow. Which means get jumped into the gang. And I shook his hand, and I promised him. And I said, "I promise." And, like anything else, we know, like the disease of alcoholism or emotional trauma, if it doesn't get progressively better, it gets progressively worse.
Amen. Right on, brother.
And so that was my household. Things got progressively worse. So my mother went from being a full-blown gang member to being a full-blown drug addict. And that was really hard for us all to cope with. We grew up poor, but we became extremely poor after that. And, our lights being turned off, water being turned off. I was still a hopeful child at the time. Went to school. I loved school. School was my escape, I mean,
Wow, yeah.
I loved it, homie. If I was able to spend the night at school, I would have. That's how much I enjoyed being at school. I enjoyed being a student. I took up the trumpet, so I was in marching band.
You're in a marching
I was in
band?
marching band. I was in the GATE program, which was the program in Los Angeles County, Gifted and Talented Education. I excelled in school. I did well in school.
Yeah, man.
But like I said, things got progressively worse, and it was the summer right before junior high school, and my mother, by this time, she was battling a powerful.
What was your drug of choice, buddy?
It was meth.
Fuck, back then.
Yeah, back then. And what's so interesting, so prior, like the generation before me, I think was suffering from like the crack epidemic.
Yeah.
And then I remember like meth hitting our community, and it was like the plague, homie.
So what year was that then?
This was in early 90s.
Early 90s then, right? Yeah.
Early 90s. And yeah, like my mother dibbled and dabbled in drugs. But, once that came into our community, it was like the plague. Seriously, it was just ravaging through households. And yeah, and she battled with that, and it was tough, it was tough. I never knew who my father was growing up, and I was okay with that. I think that if I would have, just looking back in retrospect, had I had my mother at that time, I think I would have still kind of been okay. But, not really having her, it was tough. It was tough on me. And so my cousin, the one that I made a pact with, it was a summer right before junior high school. And he got jumped into the neighborhood. From one moment to the next, he didn't consult with me. We didn't talk about it. Like that, he was a gang member. And of course, he was dealing with similar stuff. And I remember just like, wow, okay. We didn't talk about it, nothing. We just continue living, continue moving on. And so I had a friend that I used to frequent his house that lived down the street from us. He had like a semi-normal life, had a mom, stepdad, they had basic cable TV. So I loved being over there. They always had food in the fridge.
Oh, fuck, man.
Yeah,
Right
but I understand now, I get it now, because, his mother would have to, she'd have to ask me to leave. It'd be late. I didn't have a curfew growing up. I could stay out till whatever time, nobody was gonna come looking for me. And I loved being at his house because I hated being at mine. I hated being home. I hated it, homie. So I would be at his house, and it'd be like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and his mother would say, hey, Jose, Christian got to go to bed. It's time for you to go home, And I'm sure it was hard on her, having to ask me to leave. And so, my mother's struggling. My cousin just got jumped into the neighborhood. And my house was like the hangout spot. So there was always homies from the neighborhood there, always. And so, one night I walked down to my friend's house. I knock at the door. Somebody comes to the peephole, but they didn't answer. So I knock again, no answer. I go to the side window and I knock and I say, hey, it's me, Jose. And they turned off the living room light and they turned off the TV as if to pretend like nobody was home, and I just remember feeling so hopeless.
Oh, fuck. How old were you then?
I was 12.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I just remember like, damn, this is my life. I got to go back home. I knew it was waiting for me at home. So I walked back to my house, and there was two homies. One of them was another one of my cousins that was already from the hood. He was older, like 16. And then there was another homie that was around 19. And I get back to the front of my house, and the homie, he asks me, he says, hey, what's up, fool? Why you look so sad? Did your dog die or something? And I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, no, I ain't sad. I'm good. And he says, you want to get jumped into the water? And I had an excuse. I had been asked before, you want to get jumped to the neighbor? Nah, I can't, homie. I got this to do, or I got marching, I got band practice, or what, I got to go to school. But that night was different. I remember before I could even think about it, before I could even consider the question, the words had left my mouth, and I said, yeah, I'll get jumped into the water. I said, matter of fact, I'll get jumped into the water tonight. And we walked across the street. I had another cousin that lived across the street, and they jumped me. They beat on me. They kicked me. They beat on me some more. And after they were done, they hugged me and they embraced me. And they whispered things like, I love you, you know. I think that experience is big to share because from that point on, my experience with love was tainted. It was fractured because of the violence and because of the embrace. And that left me, that experience left me not only just confused, but lost for many years because I didn't know what love really was after that. And what's so interesting is that we still have a lot of our youth today that subject themselves to those type of experiences. And us as a society, it's not concerning or alarming to us that, you know, that young people are subjecting themselves to something that's so dire, you know what I mean? And, but yeah, that decision changed the course of my life. And it was shortly after, I want to say maybe 8-9 months after, my cousin Marlo, who we had made a pact in my grandmother's backyard to never get jumped into a gang, he was shot in the face with a 12-gauge shotgun. He was murdered. And he was 14 years old when he died. And life became real at that point.
But what was going through your mind that night happened?
That's a great question, Seano, because I think that more than anything, I just missed him. More than anything, I lost my best friend. You know, more than anything, I lost like my buddy. You know what I mean? Like we would play with toys. We would play with our toys in my grandmother's backyard.
You guys were still innocent together.
We were still innocent kids.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
I remember that even after we were both from the hood, we still played with toys. But when the homies would come, we would hide them, and really we would go outside because we felt like we had to be grown man already.
Right.
And it's a trip because about, I don't know now, maybe like 7 years back, I was doing some writing. And I remember hiding Army Man with my cousin in my grandmother's backyard. And I remember that no matter where I was or where I would go, and whenever I would come back, I would always look for those Army Men and I would never find any. I'd get busted, I'd go to juvenile hall, I'd come home and I would remember like searching for them. And I never found any of them that we hid in my grandmother's backyard. But I remember being still like, not naive, but like I just wanted him, you know what I mean? Like I knew him for who he was and not who the neighborhood thought he was, you know, or society thought he was, this young gang member that was murdered. I remember being at his car wash because, you know, another thing that we go through being gang members and stuff is we don't even have enough money to bury our dead. So we have to raise money to, you know, be able to have a funeral. And I remember being at the car wash, and as much as everybody was angry and upset about it and that was seeking revenge, I didn't feel that. Even though I pretended that I did, all I felt was, I miss him.
I miss him.
You know, and I wish that I was able to tell somebody that, but you can't.
Right.
That's not a part of the culture.
And do you remember, Jose, when you went from like that sweet, I love to play my trumpet, I love school, I love to play with my little, you know, Army guys in the back, to like something shifted and it got dark?
That was one moment that things started to shift for me. It wasn't that it got too dark, but it was basically that, Jose, this is your life. This shit is serious, and death is lurking around every corner. And so I became, you know, like hyper vigilant about that. Became cautious, but I knew that death was lurking now. I knew that it was lurking, and it was coming for me, and it was coming for people that I love. But like anything else, things get progressively worse. And so, you know, as I got older, I got more involved.
And when did the drinking start? Let's start. I would like to bring that.
Well, drinking started when I was like 8 years old.
Yeah, we did. Okay.
Yeah, see, we got to back up.
You got to back up a little bit, brother. Yeah.
Drinking. So the culture growing up in my household was, I was like a gopher. Go for this, go for that. All right. Go light a cigarette on the stove. I light the cigarette and I come bring it to him. Because my house, like I said, was the hangout spot. So they partied, 3-4 days straight in a row. And we just grew up in that environment. And so that's actually where I seen my first death, was a fight that happened in my own home.
Oh, wow.
And just from being in that environment, so many things transpire. And so it'd be a sip here, a sip there. It'd be older homies giving me it and getting a kick out of me being drunk and being so young and being drunk. But yeah, it was just a part of the culture growing up. It was just a part of it. It didn't really take off until later on. It didn't really like become a very big part of my life until years later. It was just survival, Growing up at that age from 12 on I was moving into survival mode and I didn't even know it. So, I get older, he passes away. We get progressively more and more poor. Lights getting turned off, we're being evicted. So at 15, I decided that, I have to do something. I gotta be able to like help my grandmother at that time was taking care of us. She stepped up to the plate while my mother was struggling. And I started to sell dope. And so my first case I caught at 15 was, I was selling dope. And I remember when I got pulled over and the officer finds what he found in my car, he walks back to me and he says, "What are you doing so young with so much, dope in your car?" And my response to him was, "I'm just trying to feed my family." And so now enter the system, which is a whole nother level of complex trauma, like being, and just to share some of that experience, being 15 years old and now you're stripping down naked in front of a grown person, you're going in the shower naked. And it's such an experience that it's even hard to describe. And it's as much as I understand, like, okay, I committed a crime and definitely I have to pay for the consequences. But at 50 years old, even though I think I'm a grown man and I think that I'm doing the right thing based off of my circumstances, the experience of incarceration is just, it's bad. It's bad for our youth. And it's, you're left in a cell, just give you a little bit. So you have no shoes in the cell, you have no TV, you have no books, and you're left in the cell for 23 and a half hours a day.
Fuck. And
that's your life. Right. And you're pacing. And this is where things got progressively worse for me. This is where, as you were asking, like, when did it get real dark? It was post-incarceration. Well, it was actually, so I get locked up at 15. I get out 4 months later. I get locked up again at 16. And this time it's a gang-related situation. And while I was in there, because you're left with your thoughts, all day. So, I'm in there and I'm like, damn, where's my mother at? Where's my mom? And damn, you know what? I don't have a dad. Like, is anybody coming to visit me? And so they have visiting hours. And I remember being in my cell. Like I said, you're stuck in that cell all day long. And you're lucky if you get some rec at night. But you're just stuck in the cell all day, left alone with your thoughts. And I remember visiting, I would always be at my window, like hoping, kind of semi-praying, but hoping that somebody was going to come visit me. Now, my grandmother, she did the best she could, but she struggled. She was older, she had 5 kids, and that weren't hers, that were her daughter's children that she was raising. So she had a lot on her plate. And then I remember one night, and I don't know, something surfaced inside of me. They were calling people to visit. And I remember there was like these little bags of popcorn that people would get. And I don't know, I'm just being a kid. I just wanted one of those bags of popcorn,
Yeah.
And I remember standing at my window and going inside of myself, saying to myself, nobody's coming, homie. This is your life. And I walked away from the window and I walked to the back of the cell and I said to myself, this is your life. There's nothing else. This is the hand you were dealt, and you're gonna play this shit until it's over. And that's when it got dark.
That was a moment.
That was a moment.
Fuck, right on.
Where it got dark, and I said, that's it. And I thought I was gonna die like that, and I began to live like that. So it went from being cautious about death and being vigilant to, oh, death is lurking?
Fucking game on.
Well, I'm gonna meet it in the street.
Straight up. Got it. Wow.
I'm gonna meet it in the street. And I began to pursue it. I began to daydream about it. I began to fantasize about it. I would daydream about my funeral. Like I would close my eyes and I would picture it. And then I would think, like, I would wonder, I wonder if my mom will stop getting high if I die. I wonder if she'll cry at my casket. And it was game on, like you said. And my life just became a blur. Became a blur of violence. I got out 18. I went right back at 18. I got out at 22, and I was right back in prison at 22. I was in the county fighting a life sentence. And I ended up getting 6 years. So by this time, just to give you a window into mine and my mother's relationship, it was so estranged that she's from my neighborhood. And homies would come to me and they would say to me, hey, dog, your mom's over here getting high. You should come check on her. My response to them was, I don't have a mother, homie.
All right. Wow.
That's how bad it was.
Yeah, got it. Wow.
So I'm in there. I take my time. I go upstate, and I'm just living like that. It's like fish to water. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm in it. And that's just what it was for me every time. And it was my last prison term. I leave the county, I get to the state, and as soon as I got to the state, I got word that my mother had died. And it's even hard to describe the pain that I felt. Like, I had been through so much by this time in life that I felt like
Not much can affect you.
Yeah, nothing can affect me. You know, I felt like I didn't have a heart to be broken. That's how I felt. And when she died, it was like my soul was broken. It was a pain that it just, no matter as much as I would push it down, it just kept surfacing, homie. And this is where alcohol and this is where drugs became a big part of my life, because I tried to numb it. I tried to run from it. I participated in violence. There was no escaping this pain, Seano.
What was the pain, buddy? Walk me through the pain. What
It was like, I guess deep down inside of my heart, that little boy, that little good heart that was there all along, I guess always wanted his mother's love.
Yeah, of course.
And I guess that there was this little part inside of me that hoped or thought that one day everything would be okay.
Right.
Someday.
And now that was completely shattered.
And that was completely gone. Yeah, I had never gotten high. I had drank, but I used to describe.
Because how old were you then when this happened?
I was 24.
Oh, fuck. Wow.
And so I was more of just like gang member, didn't use drugs, drank here and there, but everything that I hated, I became.
Right.
All the drug addicts that I used to look down on, the dudes in the prison yard that I seen going over here to score and get high, the tecatos, that I thought I was better than them when I was doing my time prior to that experience. Everything that I hated, I became. I put a needle in my arm for the first time. I was trying to escape this pain, and there was no escaping it. You know that saying, everywhere you go, there you are?
There you are, man.
End up on my last shoot term. I'm participating in violence. I'm maxed out. They can't give me any more time unless they give me a new case at this point, because I'm maxed out. I maxed out my time. And I'm in the hole, and I got no more drugs. I got no more alcohol.
Fuck.
I got nowhere to go. I'm in this little cell, and I'm looking at myself, and I'm going, what's going on with you? I thought I was losing my manhood, because I had never experienced such a pain that I couldn't stuff back down and just keep it moving through. And I would look at myself, and I'm sitting back there in the hole, and I had to come to terms with the fact that I missed my mother. And it was so tough because in prison, you don't miss anybody. You're not supposed to.
You're not allowed to.
You're not allowed to. It's not a part of the culture. You don't celebrate holidays. You don't look at a calendar. You don't tell somebody, hey, I'm sad because my mom just died or my aunt just died. It's just not a part of the culture. And so I'm going through all this internally on my own. And it was hard. It was hard to face all that. I remember I had this moment. We have these little tiny mirrors, and they're stuck to the cell wall. And I remember looking at my reflection, and I'm all tatted up. everything. Face tatted at that time, my neck, I'm all tatted up. And I look at my reflection. And I look at myself, and inside of myself, I look at myself and I say, who the fuck are you? Like, how did you get to this point? And I started to reflect on my life by myself. And I started to think back on this little boy that loved school. I used to watch sitcoms when I was growing up. Like Family Matters, you know, It's a Small Wonder.
Different Strokes.
Yeah, Different Strokes.
Yeah,
And my favorite part of those sitcoms was the family. Was the dad, was the mom. And being when I was a little boy, I used to sit there and I used to yearn for the family that I saw on TV. Here I was, grown man in the hole, and I was yearning for that again.
Yeah, wow. Home. We all want home.
Right?
Yeah, man.
We all want
home.
And and what's so interesting, I say this now, and it might sound crazy, but that was the beginning of my change, and I didn't even know it yet. My mother did more for me in death than she was ever able to do for me in life.
Whew, fuck.
And because her death was, I didn't know it at the time, but her death was going to be the beginning of my new life.
Wow.
Because nothing was going to change me, homie.
Yeah, you're right.
And that changed me.
Wow.
Forever, altered. Just like the decision I made to join a gang, that experience, it changed the course of my life. Because I had to come to terms with everything else after that. I was only able to understand my mother's drug addiction because I had one.
Right.
I was only able to understand my mother's alcoholism because I became an alcoholic. I was only able to understand my mother's pain because I had so much pain. And I was able to release her, and it didn't happen right away, but I started to reflect and I started to think like, I'm a drug addict. I said I would never be this because my mother was a drug addict. And I started to understand her. I started to get to know her more than I had ever known her because of the things that I had suffered from. And that was only the beginning, because a lot of that I didn't know until I came to Homeboy.
So let's walk from that moment, because how did you get out of jail?
Yeah, so I eventually came home. I paroled, and I paroled with all of that. I paroled with, drug addiction. I paroled with just this internal turmoil. But I wanted to do the right thing. I had this, So
that do the right thing started coming back for you a little bit.
That do the right thing.
You got tapped that day in the cell. That was your white light experience.
That was my white light.
That was it, right?
Yeah, I'll share. Let me give you a little bit more context.
Yeah, walk me through that, brother.
All right. So,
God damn.
So I'm going through all this in the hole, right? And so I start seeking. And I don't know what I'm seeking.
Right.
But I started to have these subtle prayers like, are you real? Are you? And then it was more like, if you're real, are you real? If you're real, show yourself to me. And then it was like, show yourself to me. Wow. Like, help me. I would stand on my cell door, and where I was at, they're called honeycombs. So it's this metal sheet, but it has these little small holes in it. So all you can see is shadows of men. You can't see their face. You just see shadows of men. And at this time, ACLU had come into the California prison institutions because they were leaving us in the hole too long, and they were leaving people back there too long and left with their thoughts too long, and they knew it was wrong. So, but because of our culture, we couldn't talk to anybody. So the therapists would start, and they would have their stab-proof vests, and they would walk the tiers because they just had to. It became a part of the programming in there. And they would check on people like, hey, do you need anybody to talk to? Are you guys okay? But everybody would do the same thing. They would say, get off my door. Don't stop on my door. Because like I said, it's just not a part of the culture. So they would walk. And I remember when I would see the first therapist get on the tier and start to walk, something inside of me would be like, oh, I wish I could talk to somebody.
Right.
Wow. But we can't. And so, I would have that yearning. And then they would get to my door, and I'd do it like everybody else. Hey, get off my door. Don't stop here. Okay, But then there was another dude that would walk the tier, and he was a pastor or a chaplain. And he would come with a book cart, and he would pass out books. My Sally was an atheist, so he didn't believe in anything. Didn't talk about God, no connection to anything really. There was no talk of any of that in my cell. But he was an artist. And so what he would do is he would rip the literature out of the books, and he would draw on the white part of the books. And so, like I said, I'm yearning, I'm seeking, like I want to figure out what's going on in me. You know, I want to figure out, am I connected to anything greater than myself? But I didn't know how to do it, so I'm trying to be slick with it. So the therapist come one day, boom, and then here comes the chaplain. He has his little book cart. And then, so I wait till he gets to my cell. Well, before he gets to my cell, I ask my cellie, I go, hey, homie, you need any of those little pamphlets or whatever? He goes, yeah, grab me a couple. He's facing the back of the wall and he's drawing. So the chaplain comes and I said, hey, you got any of those pamphlets, you know, that you normally hand out? He says, oh, yeah, I got some. And I go, you got a Bible in there? I whisper, all right? You got a Bible in there? The chaplain was on point like Stacey Adams. He slides me the packet, the pamphlets. I grab the Bible with this hand, and I hand the pamphlets to my cellie, and I stash the Bible. I don't even touch it until later on at night. So I leave it there, but all day I'm thinking about it, you know. Nightfall comes, and we had this little beam of light through our back of our cell, through the back window, a little beam of light. So I wait to see, like, is my cellie asleep? Well, I'm listening. So I think he's asleep. I get up and I grab the Bible, open it up. And it was a old King James version, right? So it's like, thou art. And I'm like, what the fuck is this saying? You know what I mean? Like, what is he saying? So boom, I put it away. Next night, try to read a little bit more. But I say all that to say is, like, I begin to actively seek something greater than myself. Didn't understand much of it, but it was the beginning of seeking for me. It's like, if there's something else, if there's a possibility that there's something else for me out there, I want to find it. You know I can't fully do it where I'm at, but I want to find something if there is something for me. And I came home. I came home with a bit of that seeking, but a whole lot of trauma and a whole lot of baggage and a whole lot of pain, a whole lot of shame, a whole lot of guilt. But my best thought was get a job, you know, find a job. And so I did. I worked for a temp agency in South LA. And so I'm stacking.
Did you have the face tattoo then?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, dude.
You know?
Yeah, wow.
And so, yeah, I get a job. But because of these, you know, I'm on parole. I'm on high control parole. And I got all these barriers because I got to put on the application. So they're giving me like 4 hours at one spot, and they're giving me like 4 hours across town at another factory. So I'm going through all of this, right? And my best way to cope is drink a 40.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
And that's just how I live. I didn't know anything else. And so here I am struggling. Boom. I didn't know Father G growing up the way a lot of homies do, but I had heard about him growing up. But he's like a mythological creature. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because what priest, you know what I mean, does this for gang members specifically and intentionally helps gang members, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know, you hear stories from homies that are from his area, and they would be like, oh yeah, Father G-Dog, you know, he looked out for me and he helped me out when I was a kid. And I would be like on the pull-up bars or whatever, and on the weight pile, and I'd do my next set, like, yeah, sure, homie. Sure, this priest bought you a shoes for school. But I stumble upon the number to Homeboy Industries. And I called down there looking for a job, though. Not looking for anything else but a job, because I didn't have
What
much
year are we
insight.
at now, buddy?
This is 2013.
2013.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And I know.
Fuck, man.
I know. So I called down there, and a homie answers the phone. I could tell it's a homie, but he sounds pretty professional. So he says, I say to him, I say, hey, he says, Homeboy Industries, how can I help you? And I said, I'm looking for a job. Are you guys hiring? And he says, well, let me ask you a few questions. I said, okay. He says, have you ever been locked up before? I'm like, what kind of question is this? You know what I mean? I said, yeah, homie, I just got out. He goes, have you ever been involved with gangs? And I'm like, yeah, I'm honest. I said, yeah, I'm a gang member. He says, are you currently on probation or parole? I say, I'm on high control parole, homie. He says, okay, one more question. Do you have any visible tattoos like on your face, neck, hands, or arms? I remember looking at myself and I'm all tatted up. And I say, yeah, homie, I'm all tatted up. He says, okay, we'll give you a job. I'm like, what? I say, are you serious, homie?
Wow.
He says, yeah, we'll give you a job. Can you come down here today? I said, I'm on my way. And I went. And I would like to say the rest was history, but it was a lot of work.
Walk me through going through the first time there, buddy. What was that like?
Yeah, it was intense for me. It was, I remember walking up, looking in, and gang members everywhere. And you've been there.
Yeah, of course.
You know what it's like. It's very stimulating. It's a lot of people.
There's an energy there.
There's an energy there, but there's gang members everywhere, right? Everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's gang members.
All tatted, all fucking
tatted,
the faces,
face,
right?
head, everywhere, right? So I walk up, and that's the first thing I see. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, no, this place ain't for me. I'm trying to get away from the gangs, you know what I mean? Not knowing that I was going to have a different experience with it. So I walk in, and they asked me to fill out an intake form. And so I'm sitting there and I'm filling it out, and I noticed this dude walk by. Most tattoos I've ever seen, eyelids, head, face, ears, everything tatted up. And I noticed him walk by, and then I noticed him notice me. And I go, oh, here it is. I put the clipboard down.
Let's get it.
Yep, let's
do this. Get it. I know what this is about.
I'm used to this.
Yeah.
So as he begins to walk towards me, my heart starts to race. And I say to myself, here it is. It's on. He walks up and he extends his hand to me and he says, hey, my name's Mario. I've never seen you before.
Oh, man.
Is there anything I can help you with? Would you like some water or something to drink? And I remember shaking his hand and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is this place?
Right.
And I know that might sound trivial to some people. I know you know that it's not.
Oh, man.
But just to share with the audience, it's for a gang member to approach another gang member and to not ask him where he's from or to not, initiate some form of violence. It's huge.
Right.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, what is this place? Our experiences, they shape us. They shape the way that we view ourselves and they shape the way that we view the world. And so I've had a world of negative experiences. And it shaped me. It shaped my perspective, on the world and on myself in the world. And so it was experiences like that began to reshape my mind, but not only my mind, my heart, began to reshape my heart. I'll share another experience that was like one of those pivotal moments in my life. I ended up bringing my little brother to Homeboy. Well, I asked Father G, I said, hey G, I've located my little brother. I want to help him out. You think we can help him out? And he said, sure, son. We'll bring him, we'll put him in school, and we'll give him a part-time job. And he could be here with us. And I was just so grateful. And so I bring him, and, we didn't have much in the early days. Whatever clothes we had on our back and whatever he had, but we would share it. And so I was a lot thinner back then, like 60 pounds thinner. So my brother and I wore the same size of clothes. And so if I had these pants on, he would have them on. We would swap. And we had this saying at Homeboy, we see you.
We see you, yeah. Talking right.
Yeah. We don't watch you, but we see you.
Because that brother that shook his hand, he saw you.
He saw me.
He saw you. It's disarming. And it's real. And you can't fake the funk.
You can't. Because it has to be authentic.
Yeah.
It has to be real.
Right.
Just like when we see homies here and it's real. It's authentic.
Man.
Because then what that is, that creates hope for me. It's hope in the flesh.
Right.
That's what it is.
Amen, brother.
And
fuck yeah. That's
and it has to be real. And that's why it's so important that we're doing this and that you're doing what you're doing and G's doing what he's doing because it got to be real.
It's got to be real.
Or else we'll have an excuse to go back to that life.
Exactly.
And go, oh, I knew this was fake.
Fucking Seano. That guy's bullshit,
yeah.
man.
And then
he's bullshit.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so it was real. It was authentic. I could reach out and touch it. And that's that whole thing about I see you. And so they seen us, they seen us fully. They seen us for our gifts and they seen us for our challenges. And so one day we come in,
You and your brother.
me and my brother,
Yeah.
and the homie at the front desk, he says, hey, Father G wants to talk to you guys. And I look at my brother like, oh, what did you do, homie? You know what I mean? Thinking we're in trouble. And we go into G's office and he's sitting at his desk and he has these 2 Sears cards in his hand. And he tries to hand it to us, and we say, "No, we're okay, Pops. We don't need anything." He says, "Son, take these cards and go buy yourself some clothes."
Yeah.
Reluctantly, we took the cards and we left immediately. We're going down Alameda, and growing up, we lived a certain way. We abided by certain rules.
Yeah.
It was instilled in us as children, and I'm ashamed to say this now, but I don't believe in this anymore. But growing up, we would always say, "Don't ever cry." Don't ever demonstrate weakness because people will see it and they'll take advantage of you.
Mm-hmm.
So don't ever cry. And that's how I was raised, and that's how I raised them. And so here we are now leaving G's office, and we're going down Alameda, and my little brother is crying. And he's sobbing, homie. And I look over at him and I say to him, I said, "What's up, dog? Why are you crying?" And his response to me was, "Why the fuck do they care about us so much?"
Oof, fuck, man. Right.
It's like he couldn't wrap his head around
It's
it.
just too much. The love is too much.
was so
Too hard
much.
to take in.
It was so much. I didn't have any words for him at that moment. But that experience, just like the experiences I had as a child that changed the course of my life, that experience changed the course of my heart. Like, I knew in that moment that I wanted to be a part of Homeboy. I knew that I wanted to be a part of creating experiences like that help people see their worth. Because if I would have had the words, my words to him would have been, "Because you matter, homie. Because you're a good kid.
Right.
Because you're worthy.
Right.
Because you're important. Because you deserve to be loved." But I knew in that moment that I wanted to help create experiences like that for people, that did it. And it was after that, whatever they put me on, I was on it. If it was the restrooms, whatever it was, if it was security, if it was in the bakery, like, I just felt like I'm down to make the coffee here, because this place is real. And I want to be a part of doing this for others. And then it was a whole lot of work.
Like,
It was just a whole lot of course, that type of work, but it was a whole lot of internal work.
yeah, let's talk about that, okay? And then we'll get more into the day-to-day of Homeboy, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because you said it wasn't easy.
Oh,
It's not like you
wasn't
walked
easy.
in there all of a sudden, you
Yeah.
made peace with your past and the
Exactly.
PTSD is gone and your drug
Yep.
addiction's gone
Yep.
and your pain with your mom's gone and,
It was a process.
Yeah.
And it was being in therapy. It was talking about some of the stuff that I was feeling. It was identifying some of the things that were happening internally with me. Being able to put words to what I was feeling, like PTSD, trauma, social anxiety. Like, I had no idea what any of that stuff meant. I knew how I felt. I knew that I felt like how I would feel in a grocery store, but I didn't know that it was social anxiety, and I didn't know that it was PTSD. Because in prison everything's controlled movement. So it's, you go from your cell to the chow hall, back to your cell, the door closes. You don't open the door. Everything's controlled. You go from your cell to the yard, back to your cell. You go from your cell to the yard, someone gets stabbed.
Right.
Back to your cell. From your cell to the chow hall, someone gets stabbed or there's a riot, back to your cell or back to a cell. And so what was so interesting that I became more comfortable being in such a confined setting than being in a setting that had too much movement, or that what I thought was too much movement, because there was too many variables. There was too much room for something bad to happen. And as I look back on it now, because of therapy and because of a lot of these processes, I was able to identify the moment, or one of the moments. And I was 19 years old. I was in Corcoran State Prison. I remember walking to chow, and I got this feeling that something bad was gonna happen. And I tapped my son and go, "Hey, it's gonna jump off. Get ready, I feel it, it's coming." because we had already endured so much and we had already seen so much. And I said, get ready, homie. And then we go, we get our tray, we sit down, we eat, we finish eating, we go back, we're walking back to our cell, get back into our cell, and nothing ever happened. So I'm like, okay, my spidey senses are off. And then we do this all over again, and then here it comes again. Hey, something bad's gonna happen. And then nothing happens. So my spidey senses are off. So because of so much, it was like, and I didn't know it at the time, but it was just, I didn't no longer feel safe in that chow hall.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, big time.
I felt, even though not consciously, but subconsciously, I felt like I could deal with one dude in a cell, but I don't know what could happen potentially on this yard. You know what I mean? Or in this chow hall. Or on the weight pile. And so it became more of a comfortability in that cell. And then being in a grocery store was similar, but even more intense because there was so much movement. There was so much movement. There's people walking this way, walking that way, walking behind you, shopping carts, clerks, all these different sounds going off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to figure all that out. But I had help. You know, I had help. I had people in my life.
Because now you're telling people you're scared.
Yeah. But
now you're asking
hard.
for help. Yeah, no shit.
It was hard, you know?
Yeah, I know, brother. I know.
It was hard.
Yeah, I know.
Because, you know, you have to trust somebody enough to tell them.
Yeah, and trust takes time.
Trust takes time.
Trust takes time.
It does. And, you know, I didn't initially trust a therapist at first.
Why should you?
Yeah, because I didn't know what therapy
Everything's
even
a hustle.
was.
Everything's jive. Everyone's
Right.
going to right, exactly.
Right, yeah. Or they're a cop or something. Why
Some
are you
shit.
documenting? Why are you writing this down? So it was you know, they say you don't have to dance with everybody, but you got to dance with somebody.
Amen, brother.
You know, and I found dancing partners.
Let me just add to that. We say in the program, you don't have to have 12 people. All you need is one person you tell the truth to.
That's right.
Just one person
Yeah.
that you can lay the truth down.
Yeah.
Right? But I want to get into Homeboy, the day-to-day operations, your experience there. But I think I just want to, I don't know where in the timeline, Salvation Army.
So it's during the same time as Homeboy.
Yeah.
Everything's parallel now because
Yeah.
now I'm actually getting the help that I need. Boom, I'm starting to realize that there's things, which I knew already. I knew something's broken inside of me, but I had no idea how to fix it. So I started to trust. You know, initially it was hard, it was difficult because we were bombarded by so much love. So my early days at Homeboy was 5 feet, homie. I want you arms distance away from me. You feel me? Like I was shaking hands and I'm having a stiff arm. I want you here or here. I don't want you hugging me. I don't want you coming too close to me. Because if you get too close to me, you could potentially hurt me. But that wasn't sustainable, you know? It was yeah, it was hard to be around so much love and not be able to embrace it because of my own stuff. So the first time I left for, you know, a month or whatever, a few weeks, and I came back. Second time I came back was more, now I had more people that I knew, and what brought me back was people actually knowing my name and people actually reaching out to me to check on me. You know, how you doing? When you gonna come back? We miss you here. And I'm like, what? How do you miss me? Yeah, what
Nobody
the fuck?
misses me.
Exactly. How do you love me?
Don't they know? Not even my own mom would show up for me.
Homie.
Right, brother?
Exactly.
Isn't that
dog.
it?
That was the narrative.
Yeah.
How do you
That's
love
the story we're
me?
telling ourselves.
We're telling ourselves. How is it that you love me? And my story is, not even my own mother loved me. This false narrative, but I'm living it out.
Yeah, big time.
But they're just breaking down the walls. We love you. We miss you. Can't wait to see you. How you been? Can we get some coffee? You want to get a burger? So it started to pierce, you know, it started to chip at the walls. And then I started to trust, you know, and I remember the homie that first sat down with me. He's the one that encouraged me to go to the Salvation Army. His name's Fabian de Bora. And I remember him, he's just this, I mean, he has just a way with his words and of painting a picture for you, right? But when he first sat me down to talk to me about this drug issue that I had, or this addiction issue that I had, I was thinking to myself, who is this fool to tell me that I'm a drug addict? You know what I mean? I got high with my own mom, homie. You know what I mean? And you're gonna
Right.
sit here and tell me that I have an issue with. But because I started to trust, and because I started to be open, especially to Father G's love. Like if G trusts this dude, then I gotta at least give him a chance.
Wow.
And I did. And he said to me, he goes, yeah, well, you know what? We're going to have you go to rehab. First time was for 90 days. And my response to him was, I don't have a drug problem, homie. You know, I have a gang problem. You know, I've never been locked up for drugs, only for selling drugs. But all my adult cases, I have no drug possession, anything on my record. And he's like, yeah, well, look at it as maybe your lifestyle's an addiction then. And he just always had a response to all my rebuttals. He said, just give it a chance. And so I did it. I did 90 days. And man, and this is where like the rooms, and this is where recovery, and this is where like that spirit that Father G has, like we get to really, really see it. And I'll explain how I got to see it. So I do this program, and I program, you know, as if it was like a little, you know, I'm doing a 90-day whatever blackout. And so I'm in there and I'm doing my burpees and I'm going to work every day, but I'm still not walking a straight line. I'm signing my groups. I'm forging them, and so I had got to my 90 days already. But because it was like one of those things. Like I wanted to complete it just because I wanted to complete it now, right? But I was still doing it wrong. So at 90 days, I could have left and went back to Homeboy. That was the deal. They told me, they said, hey, if you do 90 days, you come back and we have your job for you. But if you don't do 90 days, we don't have your job. So I said, okay, boy, I'm gonna do the 90 days. But then I remember at a certain point, I said, you know what? I think I could do the whole 6 months, but I'm doing it wrong. And I got caught. And so the manager of the house, one night, he calls me down and he has all my signatures. And he says, what is this, man? You know, you're forging your signatures. And I was so offended. I said to him, and word for word, I can't remember, but I said something to him to the likes of, I said, homie, fuck you. You know what I mean? I said, you know what, homie? I'm not even a drug addict, dog. I said, and you know what, homie? I'm leaving tonight, and you'll never see me again. And I got my bag, and I walked out of that house. And I want to say about 4 months later, I was begging, homie, to go back into that program.
Right.
Because,
And why were you begging?
Because I had relapsed.
Right.
And the addiction was worse than it had ever been. And I felt so ashamed and disappointed. And it got dark again. And I got hopeless again because I couldn't stop this time.
Right.
Like there was no stopping me. And I did everything I could to stop. You know, I worked out in the morning, you know, all these things that we go through to stop on our own. And it just didn't happen. And I lost my place again at Homeboy. But same deal applied. They said, look, we love you. We got you. But if you can go back into a rehab, and this time you do 6 months, we got your job. We got your spot. And I couldn't get clean to save my life.
Right.
I couldn't catch a day, homie.
Right.
And I needed 3 days to get into the Salvation Army because you have to go in clean. You can't go in dirty for anything hard. And I remember now I'm back at that prayer again. Now I'm back at that, help me. I need you. Desperation, homie. And by the grace of God, there go I.
Yeah.
And so this is the kicker though. So I go back to the Salvation Army, and I was so ashamed of myself because the same house manager was there, and I dreaded seeing him because of the last words that I said to him. And I remember being in intake, and I'm doing my intake, and I'm like, damn, I don't want to run into this dude. Like how, you know, I feel so stupid. I feel so ashamed of myself. And then I get my roll, and boom, I go into the house, and he comes out to greet me. And the first thing he does, homie, was hug me.
Yeah, right.
And embraces me. He says, welcome back, dog.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Right on. Because we don't do gotcha here.
We don't do that.
We say welcome back.
Welcome back. That's not a part of our program.
No, we don't
homie.
do gotcha. Fuck
No.
that, man. Clowns do gotcha.
That's right.
We say welcome back.
That's right.
Because we know the humility it took for you to get your ass back here.
Absolutely.
And we're going to love up on you.
And it's a miracle that you made it back.
Straight up, brother.
Because a lot of people don't. And I remember he hugged me, and it just, I felt at home. And then like the way that I felt at Homeboy was similar to how I was feeling now. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give myself to this. I'm going to give myself to this program. And I remember the first time, because the first time around, I never raised my hand and said, my name's Jose. And I thought I was too cool for school to do that. Man. And I remember the first time I did that, my name's Jose, and I'm an alcoholic. I felt liberated, homie. Mm-hmm. I felt connected to something greater than myself. I did. I felt connected. I felt like I found my place. I found my tribe, but not even just my tribe. I found my village. Because you have your outers, you have the homies your age, you have the ones that are struggling still, and I gave myself to it, and I completed. And but so that now I want to give you more of the spiritual aspect of the program. Is I had a sponsor, Old Timer, straight Old Timer. Just he was one of those like, we're not waiting, we're doing this shit. We're gonna take you through the 12 steps. We're gonna go sit. You're gonna write your stuff out. We're gonna go through it. You're gonna burn it. You know what I mean? Like we got busy. And this is just what it is. He one day, and he had a lot of respect for me. I have a lot of respect for him to this day. Older dude. And then one day he takes me to the side and he says, hey, I'm smoking a little bit of weed and I just wanted to be honest with you. And so I used to also have a loyalty problem where I was one of those dudes, I didn't care if you're doing wrong or not, I'm rolling with you. But by this time, I had learned a little bit, right? And I started to love myself. And I would have stuck with him, but I knew that I couldn't. I knew that I had to say to him, I appreciate you for telling me this, homie, but I got to find somebody else.
Yeah, right on. You trust your gut.
I trusted my gut.
Always trust your gut.
And he respected it. And so, and this is a miracle, I have a bro named Adam, and I'm talking about this dude is my spiritual brother. Like, I feel like he's my spiritual brother. And I would go to this meditation. So I got heavy into meditating, bro. Like heavy, because I couldn't do it. Like I remember the first time trying to meditate because of all the I could not close my eyes. I would sit in there and I would open my eyes immediately because I just couldn't. Like emotionally, physically, I couldn't do it. And so I said to myself, okay, you got to do it now because this is something that can help you. The 11th step, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. And I needed a whole lot of God. And so I started to go down the street. There was this, every day was the 11th step meeting. And I started to meditate. And I met a bro there. And he would, so I'm still like limited to how many people I want to dance with.
Sure, brother.
I still have kind of my walls up, right? So he would tell me about this amazing dude named Russell. And my response to him was always, I don't need anybody else, dog.
Yeah, I'm cool, man.
I'm cool. I don't want to meet anybody else.
Right.
Oh, but I got to introduce you to him. And I would say, I don't want to meet anybody else, dog. It's just me and you. It's cool. I'm good with that. And then one night he convinced me, he says, come to this meeting, dog, that a good bro of mine has at his pad. I said, all right, I'm going to go because of you, but I really don't want to kick with nobody else. I don't want to meet anybody else. I didn't even have a cell phone at that time, so, you know what I mean? I'm using the payphone.
Shit was rough, brother.
Shit was rough. And so I get to this meeting, I walk in, and, immediately the story starts in our head. I don't fit in here.
Right.
I'm all tatted up. I'm in this penthouse, beautiful penthouse, beautiful.
All these white brothers
all
doing
these
good.
white dudes,
judging me. Yeah.
Exactly. It just started to go. And so I kind of, I put myself off to the side, and Russell walks over to me. Oh, what's up, bro? Welcome. He said, you good? I said, yeah, I'm all right, but, kind of feel like I don't fit in right here, homie. And, well, why? Well, I don't know. Maybe because how I look, or I don't know, kind of maybe what are people going to think of me right here? And his response to me was, he said, damn, you're kind of selfish, huh? And I said, what?
Yeah, right.
He goes, yeah, you're a little selfish, huh?
Yeah.
I said, selfish? What do you mean? And he says, yeah, because all you're thinking about is yourself.
Yeah. Oof.
How you fit right here. If we are thinking about you, right. Have you thought about anybody else today?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, damn, it just hit me.
Knockout
Hit me.
punch.
And immediately I knew this was the dude.
This is
I
the
need to
cat,
work
man.
with. This is the cat.
Right.
Because he's real. It's authentic.
And he sees you.
And he sees me.
Right.
And I could reach out and touch it because it's that real.
Right. And
I needed that authenticity.
Right. Wow. Okay. You meet Russell. The 5-foot handshake becomes 3 feet, becomes 2 feet, becomes hugs.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now
You get
I'm
sober.
yeah.
You're tapped in. You're loving being sober. You meet a girl along the way.
Yeah, I met my wife actually while I was in prison.
Yeah.
Yep, and that was rough. We're together, but I'm living that life, and so I come home and just try to do the best I can with what I know, and fail a lot, but with the intention that I wanted to do good. I wanted to take care of my family. As I look back on my life, I always wanted to be a dad.
Yeah.
I used to pray when I was a kid, and when I was going through things, I remember being like 14, and I was living with somebody, and I was going through a lot, and I was going through this abusive situation. I lived with this lady. She would say, "Put your hand out," and she would whip me with this belt. I lived with her for like a year, and but that didn't hurt me as much as the words would hurt, And so she would say things to me like, "Your mother doesn't care about you. Nobody cares about you. That's why you're living with me." So the beatings were nothing compared to her words. And I remember one night she was yelling at me and she was telling me that, your mom doesn't even care about you. And I would never cry in front of her. I would never give her the satisfaction to see me cry. But I would go in the restroom and I would cry.
Let it go.
I would let it out. And I remember one night I go in the restroom and I'm crying, homie. And I don't know why, but I was just like, I prayed that I have 5 kids one day because I'll never do this to them. Because there was 5 of us growing up. Myself, the oldest, and then my 2 brothers and my 2 sisters. And, fast forward today and I have 5 kids. And
they're loved.
And they're loved.
And they're safe.
And they're safe. And they'll never know what it is to be a gang member.
Why is that, buddy?
Because we created a different situation for them.
Right.
Different circumstances for them. They're not growing up in intensive poverty. They're not growing up, being abused. They're not growing up lacking the basic necessities that a child needs to develop. They're supported. They're held. They have a roof over their head.
They have a sober father.
They have a sober father.
Right. Wow. Right on, man. That's so beautiful, buddy. Wow. Well, because as you know, here at Shell, our big thing is ending generational trauma.
That's right.
And you're doing that. The greatest thing Father Boyle ever taught you is?
Man, it gets deep. He's taught me so many things.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I think about that I'm as I'm getting older now and I'm realizing is one night we're in his office kind of after hours and we're sitting there and we're talking, we're going back and forth, we're talking about stuff, and I don't even know how it came up or why it came up, but I remember him saying, it was about God's love, I think. It was about God's love and like God's love sustaining us, okay? And so he says something to me to the likes of, he says, son, he says, everything that you love in life, one day you're gonna lose it all. Can God's love sustain you? And I remember thinking like, damn, that's a morbid kind of, statement. But as I think about it today in my own personal life and my journey, I'm starting to realize, and it's not always as simple as just realizing it, but it's a practice. I'm starting to realize that life's not about what we get. Life's not about getting things, And I always thought it was like, get the house, get the car, get the family, get the job, get the career, get the accolade. But as I get older, and I've learned this from G to have a light grasp, is life is about how do you let go, letting go and not taking things so serious and having a light grasp and, not taking things personal and just like letting go, to all these things, but not connecting to them, like connect to them, but don't attach to them.
Amen. Right on.
You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the biggest things because I see him in the day-to-day and I see him like go through stuff but not hold on to it too long.
You deal with real stuff over there.
Yeah.
All day long.
Right.
all day long, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but what has kept you going there? Because it's an art deal. You've got a lot happening there. I mean, walk people through a little bit of the energy when you go there and what you're dealing with and the messaging and how you've learned to be patient, generous, right?
Yeah.
And walk people through that process.
It's triage. It really is.
Right.
You know, we definitely have we have our social enterprises, we have our restaurant, we have our bakery, but we hire people that are in desperate need of help and resources. So we hire the most violent offender. We reverse cherry pick. So just like myself, when I called down there, we hire the ones that are most likely to reoffend if we don't help them. And so it's triage. It's like, you know, gang members that come in that are on high control parole. Some of them have to check in with their parole office twice a week. Some of them have DCF cases. They're trying to get their children back, struggling with substance abuse issues, mental health issues, dual diagnosed. I mean, people that have done 38 years in prison to gang members that have not done a lot of time but are still living in those circumstances, in those environments that are active and violent. So we're just doing the best we can to, one, connect them with people that they can trust, because we believe in connecting people with people first, and then people to resources, because nobody will ever tell you what they need unless they trust you.
Amen.
You know, so we're big on connecting people to people, and then providing a community of tenderness and belonging where people feel like they matter there. And so they come back the next day. You know what I mean? And then, of course, wraparound services, mental health services, anger management, domestic violence, meditation, we try to create as many pathways to healing as possible. The arts, we have a youth reentry center. We have an art academy. We have a tattoo removal clinic where we remove more tattoos than anybody on the planet.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because we remove them for free.
Why do they do that? What's the principle behind tattoo removal?
Well, now I understand it a lot more. I didn't at first, right? But when you see like gang members with tattoos on them, their neighborhoods on their head, they're inviting death.
Right.
They're chasing death.
Right. It's a message.
It's a message because it's basically saying to your enemy, you don't have to ask me where I'm from. You can see it.
Right.
And, shoot at me, whatever you're going to do. And I started to realize that when one day I was pumping gas and I had my kids in the car, and I was pumping gas and a car pulls into the parking lot, and I had my neighborhood all over me. And I thought in that moment, I was afraid a little bit of like something happening or me not being there for my children. And after that day, that was on a Saturday, on that Monday, I began tattoo removal to get my tattoos removed, my gang-related tattoos removed.
Right. That's huge, man.
Because it was now no longer chasing death, but it was pursuing life.
Yeah, right on.
And wanting to live and having something bigger to live for.
Amen. Amen, buddy. Amen. A lot of brothers and sisters listening to the show struggling right now, having a hard time. The Bermuda Triangle, we got holidays coming up.
Yep.
Hard time for people, right? What's your message to everybody right now? What do you want to say to everybody?
I would say that you're worthy. Above everything that you've been through, things that you've been told or things that you tell yourself, you are worthy and you matter to somebody. And it's okay to reach out. And it's okay to share with somebody that you're struggling. And you don't got to dance with everybody, but you got to dance with somebody. And my prayer and my hope for you is that you find somebody that you can dance to and you can dance with and be honest with and get the help that you need, because you're deserving of it. You're deserving of it.
Beautiful. What's the message you have for the person who keeps relapsing?
Keep coming back.
Right.
No matter what.
Just keep showing up.
Just keep coming back. Keep showing up.
Right. Thank you, brother. Yeah, it's so good, right?
Dog,
look at that smile, man. There's
Absolutely.
nothing but light and God and love and surrender in that smile of yours, brother.
Thank you, dog.
Let's keep it going,
Thank
okay?
you, homie. Thank you so much, Sino. It's just like I said, it's always just amazing to be in your presence. And I love you, dog. I love everything you do, all the homies that you help.
Yeah, man. We're like Homeboy West Side
Absolutely,
here.
dog.
We're a little hub representing you guys, right? We're all helping each other.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. But go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.
We're in the World Series, baby.
Yeah,
Damn.
man. All right. Beautiful. The Seano Show is a production of iHeart Podcasts, hosted by me, Seano McFarland. produced by Pod People and 28th Ave. Our lead producer is Keith Karnalek. Our executive producer is Lindsay Hoffman. Marketing lead is Ashley Weaver. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.